Good morning, good afternoon if you're from East Coast. Thanks for joining this webcast. My name is Hema Kadali. I'm a partner from PwC, and I lead our Oracle Analytics practice. We're going to cover a couple of topics. First one is that we wanted to take a look at the next-gen analytics, what's happening from an analytics perspective. We call it as BI to AI journey or BI to AI convergence. So we're going to cover some of that stuff. We're going to look at the key pillars, from a next-gen analytics perspective. And more importantly, we're going to cover how Oracle Analytics Cloud, the OAC, is actually aligned to these pillars that as PwC, we came up with it. And then we also look at what our clients are really looking for it. Specifically, our clients are looking into, with AI and ML, that's really picking up a lot of steam. They're looking into how we can leverage these newer technologies and newer models in their business operations, whether it's in the ERP side or HCM side. They're really looking into those opportunities. So we're going to take some examples that PwC has built using Oracle Analytics Cloud, things like transfer pricing, supply chain optimization. We are going to look into some of those things as well. So this is the quick agenda for today. As you all know, I think there's a lot of disruption going on in the marketplace today. There's a lot of technology, innovation, advancements of the big data technologies, the growth of data that is happening in the marketplace. In addition to that, for the last few months, we have seen a lot of disruptions due to COVID and the economic conditions that are happening. So more than ever, our business leaders are really looking into data and analytics to drive some of these key decisions that they are going to make it to optimize and also to basically build the next generation solutions and products to address these market conditions. In PwC, we have been conducting a number of CEO and the CFO studies over the last 4 months. We basically see that number of our CFOs and CEOs are really looking at data and the data analytics as a vehicle to drive some of their business decisions. So you can see basically some of the things that we talk to them about is 32% of the CFOs really think that the tech-driven products and services is going to be the next wave of things that they would be looking into it. 63% of the CFOs think that there's going to be changes in the products and services strategy. And then 41% of them are really looking for alternative pricing schemes, revenue strategies to basically drive the market share for their stakeholders. Supply chain is another disruption. Again, due to COVID, there is a lot of disruption that's happening from a global supply chain perspective. And the number of our survey participants have listed the supply chain as one of the key concerns going forward for them. As PwC, we also look at what our analysts are saying it. And if you look at it from a Gartner perspective, they predict by 2022, 40% of the machine learning model development is going to be in the products that are not really directly related to the machine learning area itself. In other words, if you really look into their business functions or the business systems that they're building or developing or whatever, there is going to be a component of machine learning actively embedded or engaged into these solutions. So this is what we are seeing. We are basically seeing a transition from a BI perspective. The analytics are really going from BI to AI. It's that convergence that we are seeing it from BI to AI. What are the opportunities from this next-gen analytics perspective that we are seeing it? Again, I think from a business perspective, if you look at the various areas, whether it's finance, customer services, or sales organization, or your supply chain organization, or your HR organization, there's definitely lots of opportunities that our clients are looking to optimize and enhance their operations. So take an example, for example, in financial insights, right? It's not typical P&L dashboards, P&L reports that the clients are looking for it. It's really more insights into their profitability at a very, very granular level. For example, at the customer level, what are my top customer segments that I need to focus on it? What are my top product lines that I need to focus on it? One of the clients that we are working on it, they also wanted to look at the locations. They're a technology company. They wanted to focus on where they should really focus from a global perspective, the locations that they need to be operating on it to optimize some of their investments. And then you look at the supply chain. Again, I talked about what we heard from our CFOs and CEOs, but the supply chain is a big concern for a number of our folks. And they really wanted to leverage data and analytics to optimize whether it's the inventory side of it, or whether it's on the demand side of it, or whether it's supply perspective. So they really wanted to optimize the supply chain, value chain, using data and analytics. The next one is HCM. Obviously, the clients are looking to acquire and retain the top talent, and they wanted to use their corporate data to drive that. But more importantly, now they're looking into the external data, whether it's things like the LinkedIn information or social media data, to drive some of these analytics and to help them acquire and retain the top talent for the organizations. And for all these business opportunities, you see from a technology perspective, there are a number of enablers. So for example, AI and ML is definitely the top of the list. So everything we talk about, customers are asking for, how do we basically bring in more advanced capabilities like the AI and ML capabilities to drive the predictive analytics or prescriptive analytics or cognitive capabilities within these areas. The next is that explosion with your data. So, I mean, it's not just your corporate data, but you're talking about all your external data, IoT data. So we need to have basically the platforms that can handle these massive volumes of data. And again, that is, you see like the big data platforms evolution. Now the technologies are there to support all that stuff. The next is the cloud stuff, right? We kind of see that cloud first is pretty much on the minds of every CFO and CEO with our clients. They wanted to basically drive the adoption to optimize their cost, time to market, agility. So all those kind of things are basically on the top of their minds. The next is basically from a real-time analytic perspective. As you can see it, the environment right now is that, time to make the decisions, right? They wanted to make the decisions based on the data real time. So the way we ingest and use the data real time is a key component of it. And again, if you look at from an OSC and the technology perspective, we have the tools and the methods and the technology available to enable that. Last but not the least is the collaboration. So it's the collaboration not only between business and IT, but among the business, but also even external. There is basically crowdsourcing that is happening with analytics that people want to collaborate within the enterprise as well as across the enterprise. Obviously, with the caveat from a security perspective, you wanted to obviously protect your data and make sure that we follow the GDPR rules as well as the PII rules from a security and the governance perspective. But if I build a model that number of folks in our organization can use it, we wanted to build in that collaborative platform. And these tools, specifically OAC, is basically allowing us to make that happen. So that's the kind of what we kind of see the opportunities and how the technology is enabling it. The next one is basically how we see the advancements in technologies, specifically AI and ML, how we are basically enabling that, right? From an AI and ML perspective, we see that there are 5 different components: machine learning, deep learning, NLP, and obviously scaling of your data and simulation techniques, right? So, and then these techniques are really being embedded in the applications and the process areas with the real good outcomes coming out of it. Like, for example, if you look at machine learning, we see the machine learning is being used in the workflow automation, anomaly detection. So, for example, one of the use cases that we see it is the fraud detection in the finance sector. So we are using machine learning to identify the customer fraud behaviors and kind of alert the right people in advance, right? Asset reclassification, especially because we wanted to automatically reclassify these assets so that you are equipped to make the right decisions with your deals. From a deep learning perspective, we look at it basically unstructured data, whether it's audio data, the image data and the text data, and then kind of learn from that data. So like, for example, is in your audio analysis. Like, for example, we wanted to, from a sales calls perspective, we wanted to find out the effective way of communicating with your customers. So again, the deep learning techniques are being used to help the sales reps as well as the service reps to have effective conversations with your customers. This is the NLP, and this is an area that is really being used very heavily from a data and analytics perspective. A couple of areas where we see it. One is that, like, if you look at your management reports, typically we used to create these management reports using the dashboards and reports that are generated from the BI. Now it's more, how can we use NLP and NLG to generate these reports with more insights? It's not just creating the deck and things like that, but it also creating those business insights, the data insights that are looking for it to generate things like chatbots, for example. So rather than clicking buttons and menus and things like that, having that conversational AI or conversational BI with chatbots, right? So that is another use case that we see it with really solid outcomes coming out of it from an adoption, from a usability, and from an ROI perspective. The next is data at scale. I mean, this is delivering the data in real time, whether it's your ERP data, accessing that real time, or IoT data, streaming it real time to provide that insights. So example use cases that we have seen is the predictive maintenance, whether it's in the airlines industry or whether it's in the oil and gas industries. Then the simulation. Obviously, I think, you know, the what if analysis coming up with simulation models. So we are seeing a lot of use cases to use basically the simulation models to drive the value and the insight using the data and analytics. So again, these are some of the examples. Sure, there's a lot of other ones that are out there that our clients are looking for it. But again, we can see that BI and AI convergence is basically making these type of applications and these type of outcomes to come to realize for our customers. So the next one, at PwC, we looked at this BI to AI platform in 6 different dimensions. I think most of you probably have seen some form or other, but when you look at it, one is that these are the building blocks that we see it as the next gen analytics. 2 is also the evolution of these building blocks over the course of the time. So right now, if you look at it from a deployment perspective, we talked about cloud first. The clients are really looking for cloud as the enabler to drive this optimization and the value for their investments from an analytics perspective. So all the way from your on-prem to disconnected to hybrid, now it's all cloud first. So I've not one customer not talking about cloud. So again, with OAC, with the way Oracle's product strategy and the roadmap is exactly what our clients are looking for. The second one, we talk a little bit about it, is the data variation. So the types of data that the analytics and the BI and AI models are going to use it, but the platform that we're talking about, the analytics of the BI, needs to have the ability to connect these different data variations. Again, you look at OE, it has the connectors for all of the things we talked about. It has the connectors to ingest the data from your enterprise data, whether it's ERP, CRM, or HCM. It has the connectors to ingest your social media data. It has the platforms to ingest your IoT data. So it's pretty much built into OIC platform to support these different connectors for these different variations. Next, we talk about the modeling. Again, from a modeling perspective, it's not traditional data models. There's a lot that we are seeing it from a self-service perspective. Our clients want to do their own models. They want to bring in their own data and then mash up with the existing ERP data. So there is that going on. Then there is NLP stuff, right? Then there is machine learning models, like the models that Oracle already provides it. Plus, people want to build their own new models that wanted to drive these insights. One is the user base. Again, over the course of the time, we've seen the usage of the data analytics across the enterprise has grown tremendously. in the past, people are just operational managers are using it. Maybe the executives are using it from a dashboard perspective. But now every single decision maker is using the data analytics platforms. In addition, we are seeing a huge growth from a data scientist perspective, chief data analyst. So this is basically exploding as we talk. And the key thing that the platform needs to enable is that providing different workbenches based on their roles and their personas. Again, you look at OAC, it definitely does that, right? The next one is the governance. The governance from a lineage perspective. So all the way from your ingestion to your usage, you need to make sure that you have the governance, for the data, for your models, for your security. So basically having that end-to-end picture, embedded governance through the data lineage and the model lineage is very, very important, and the platform needs to support it. The last one is about visualization. Again, we all know that basically the important thing from a BI perspective is how you represent the data, how you present the data in a more intuitive way that people can understand. Again, what we see it is that it's not just the dashboards and reports, it's really the storytelling. It's how you take your data and tell the story to your clients, right? Integrated with a lot of these visualization techniques that OAC uses it, as well as some of the things like in-memory visualization. Like, for example, when I'm basically ingesting this, millions of records real time, I wanted to drive these insights. I wanted to see the data in a more intuitive way within the dashboards and reports that we are presenting it. So it's that rich visualization experience that our customers are looking at from a BI perspective. Again, these are the 6 pillars that we call it as the building blocks for the next generation BI and analytics. And I can tell you, based on what my experience with OAC, and OAC has got all these 6 components built into it to provide that unique experience for our customers. So the next one, just to kind of taking a deep dive into some of these 6 pillars. The first one is obviously the cloud first. Again, we talked a little bit about it, but if you look from a cloud perspective, there are 8 dimensions that our clients are looking for it. Obviously, the cost savings and agility is an important thing, but some of the key features of cloud from a scalability perspective, from an innovation perspective, from a collaboration perspective, accessibility perspective, they're all important things. And as I said before, I think the OAC has all these features built into it to drive that business transformation that our clients are looking for. The next is the data variation. So from a data variation perspective, we have 4 different components, right? One is the data gravity. For example, we have data coming from ERP systems, CRM systems, HCM systems, but also there is a lot of data that is out there with on-prem data, for example. Like, clients have got a lot of on-prem data that they wanted to bring it and provide that connected insights from an end-to-end value chain perspective. So having the ability to connect your cloud data with your on-prem data, with your IoT data as an important thing. And I think the OAC basically has the capabilities to do that. Next is the data variety, the types of data that we are going to get it. It's not just structured data anymore. It's the semi-structured data, it's the audio data, it's the video data. It's the different types of files that we are ingesting it right now. So having the ability to handle the varieties of the data is an important aspect, and OAC again has the features and components built into it, along with the autonomous data warehouse and the data lakes that the OAC supports it. We covered the data volume. I think data integrity is another thing. So I think one of our customers, again, we are now going to have data integrity across all the data areas that we talked about it. But if you look at it, as the data is basically flowing from systems to the data warehouses and the data lakes, integrity is becoming a very important aspect of it. And again, with the platform like OAC, we are able to maintain integrity where it is needed. Like, for example, if I want to maintain the integrity with the master data, with your transactional data in ERP and CRM and HCM data subject areas, we are able to do it. But when I bring in IoT data, maybe data integrity from a relationship perspective is not that important, but I would still have the ability to connect the IoT data with my master data elements or some of my transactional data to drive those insights that the customers are looking for. These are the components of data variation. The next, we talked about the modeling, the intelligent modeling stuff. This is the AI and ML part of it. The OAC provides a lot of pre-built models like the numeric prediction models, multi-classification model, clustering models, etc. But we also have the ability to build custom models. If the customer wants to do it using Python or R or whatever, you have the ability to do it. So I think, again, from an OAC perspective, you see it, the advanced analytics in data visualization. So in the data visualization tool itself, you have lots of basically AI features that are built into it, whether it's clustering, forecasting, things like that. In the data flow, we can basically do demand sensing, building some AI type of apps within the data flow itself. So rather than basically taking the data and putting it somewhere and running an AI model, what we are able to do with Oracle's autonomous data warehouse and OAC is basically running the AI models right on top of that, okay? So I don't have to migrate the data. I can just basically bring those AI models close to where my data is. So that is a huge advantage from an Oracle OAC perspective. The next, what we see is that expanded user base that we talked about it. It's not basically analysts or business leaders. Now this whole idea of data scientists or data analysts is going at an exponentially faster rate, at an exponential rate. But I think the things that Oracle provides, whether it's a semantic modeling that is basically so intuitive that business can understand what's inside their data platform, self-service, where basically they can basically mash up their own data with the existing models, storytelling, they can basically go and create their own stories using the rich visualization that Oracle is providing it. And things like, for example, all the connectivities, RESTful APIs from a technology perspective, data preparations using machine learning, and then some of these action links that we can create it based on some of the models that we built it, and the prescriptive analytics using the machine learning models. So these are some of the features that Oracle OAC supports it, that our customers are really, really excited about it. And we see a lot of adoption and usage of some of these features by our customers in their BI and analytics journey. So the next is the governance. Throughout the lineage, you're going to basically see that you need to have the governance all the way from ingestion to your usage, okay? So the last pillar is the visualization, rich visualization. The thing that I'm excited about OAC is really the visualization features that has come into in the last year or so, which our clients are, quite honestly, are really excited about it. So the advanced visualization features, like some of the data discovery features that is available. And the other big thing is that I think this is probably one of the key differentiators from an OAC perspective that I see it. It's the build once and deploy anywhere. The way we can basically deploy these applications or analytical models across different platforms, whether it's the tablets, whether it's the mobile apps, or your day-by-day app, or Synopsys apps. I mean, that's very, very powerful. I mean, people really love it when they can see it's the same source of data. I don't have to repeat anything or recreate anything. It's the same set of visualizations and the models that I'm basically using it across different platforms, to drive the adoption of analytics. With that, I'll basically go through a couple of examples. I think I talked about some of the solutions. I'll take basically 2 examples just in the interest of time, what we have been doing it with OAC and then this BI to AI convergence and how we are basically building these analytics to help our customers. The first one, I think I touched on a little bit, is about tax transfer pricing. As you probably all know, that PwC is a global cross-loss organization, and tax is one of our main lines of services. And we work very closely with our tax partners to understand some of the challenges that our customers are facing from a tax perspective. So again, with the global environment, with all the challenges that we have today, transfer pricing is one of the key areas that our customers are focused on it, especially the global companies, to really take advantage or optimize some of their tax schemes to drive the profitability for the organizations. The second one is basically what we call it as a SCOOP, which is basically supply chain opportunity and optimization platform. We've actually built this platform. There's about 30 plus machine learning models that we built it on the supply chain data to drive the supply chain optimization. Hey guys, if you have any questions, let me know. We'll take it live, and appreciate you joining the call.